Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the M3 Melody Market Update. Thank you guys for joining me. I've had just a couple more subscribers since the last time I was here. So I want to just start out by saying welcome. I'm very glad you're here. And I just want to explain kind of quickly what this show is. And so it's a weekly show to provide context as well as data. And so there is a lot of data out there, guys. And a lot of it is actually conflicting at the moment, leaving many people very confused about the state of the housing market. And so what I'm trying to do here is contextualize that data as well as provide alternative data points. And so I'm looking at a lot of the same data everyone else is out there: historical trends in home prices, historical trends in inventory, what's going on with interest rates, what's going on with the 10-year. But that's the foundation that I'm standing on, but I'm also bringing in myriad other data points to really give us all a 360 view. And at the same time, I've been doing this since January for a lot of these cities. So very excited about having a full year of this type of tracking, which is at the individual city level versus your MSA, which is how many people track this. And I think it's why they miss when things are turning. And so the idea here is to look at weekly data in context with month-over-month data, year-over-year data, so we can triangulate and start to understand when the inflection is truly happening in some of these cities as well as nationally. I think that a lot of you know that have been here before know that I say real estate is local until it's not. What does that mean? Well, it is absolutely local. And if you don't understand local markets, you're never going to understand what's going on. But that is, of course, impossible for people who have to look at the entire, housing industry. And so what I'm trying to do is give you as much of that bottoms up layered with that top down view so that you'll have a better understanding. As well, I'm trying to track sort of the movement between listings for sale, listings for rent, and listings for short-term rental. Now, right now, I only have month over month when it comes to short-term rental. And as I kind of just said, I only have not even month over month for the listings for sale the way I'm capturing that. Because as mentioned, MSA is typically how you can get that data if you don't pay for it. And if anybody wants to pay for it and give it to me, I'll definitely take it for sure. But I do think that I have enough aggregate data to give you a better picture of what's going on, and I don't get stuck in narratives. And I think that's one of the biggest problems out there right now is that people get stuck in their view and aren't going to be able to understand when things are shifting. So I absolutely want to contextualize the data that you're hearing elsewhere, provide some of that data, but also provide you additional data like these short-term rental listings, which not many people out there are doing. So welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I'm very glad to have everyone here. This has been a very eventful week for me. So if I'm a little off, just forgive me. I can't believe it, but I haven't talked to you since the big debate with the housing analyst, which I talk about in the weekly Substack, the first one I did this week. And, I would say overall, I got the point across that I wanted to get across. I would have liked it to be a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more of, kind of enriching and sort of diving deep into the differing viewpoints. But hey, it was an hour, and I think the biggest point I wanted to get across is that we have to question the data. We cannot look at only one or two data points. And we need to define our terms. We need to talk I feel like so much of what happens on FinTwit or in the financial press is that we use a lot of terms that people could actually, it can mean one thing or the other thing. And that's kind of where Down and Dirty, the name of the Substack, was this week. So the debate, in my opinion, at least for me, was successful in that I think that I had at least some people start to question the data, especially the listing data. So that was exciting. And then on top of that, my interview with Wealthion aired, And just very thankful to Danielle DiMartino Booth, who recommended me to Adam Taggart, and then Adam Taggart for giving me the platform. So I'm very appreciative, and I'm appreciative of all of you coming over here. So thank you so much. Okay, so before we get started on anything else, I just, right before I started taping, got the short-term rental data for August. Now, this includes both Airbnb and VRBO. And you can see year over year, short-term rental listings increased by over 11%. Now, guys, I've talked about this before, but saturation absolutely is going to be a problem. Now, when Airbnb talks, they talk about, oh, we're increasing listings, because that is their only model. They have not come out with additional offerings. They've tried, it just hasn't caught on. And so the only way that Airbnb is making money is by increasing those listings. But the problem is for their host, because that then dilutes their ability to earn. And so although listings were up year over year, occupancy was down by almost 3%. So when occupancy is down, that's going to hit your host. And now I would also caution you that you're probably going to see some reports that say, oh, listings are up, and it's going to sound great. But especially in the short-term rental market, you cannot look at aggregate numbers. Those of you that operate these know that your local situation, the regulations you have there, the number of listings, the events that are in your area, these things can make or break a short-term rental, and you have to be in the know. And while in aggregate occupancy can be down only 3%, in some locations it could be down 55 to 60%. So, next week I'll be able to give you the monthly comparisons for short-term rentals, so you'll be able to see what's going on in all of these specific cities. But for now, those are the aggregate numbers. Again, listings up 11%, occupancy down almost 3%, and then the ADR was up just a tiny 0.59%. So again, though, if you're not getting that ADR or average daily rate, you're not going to care that it was up because your occupancy matters a lot, unless you're in one of those situations like Newport Beach where the amount of revenue and ADR you do get really offsets a lot of your occupancy situation. So it's a complicated story, and not one you can look at in aggregate, especially if you're an operator of one of these short-term rentals. Okay, wanted to start there. So in this portion of the show, what I do is very quickly go over some summary stats, some like top 5 cities, things like that. Once a month in the Substack, I do a complete detailed view of all of these cities so that you can get a more comprehensive understanding of what's happening. But this is just kind of a fun way, especially because a lot of you, I'm tracking these cities for you to kind of tell you what's going on in your city. So, if there's some information that you need, just leave me a comment and I'll do my best to get to it. I'm a little behind in my comments, just FYI. But I think most of you who know me know I'm going to try to respond to you. I'm behind in email, Substack, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Twitter messages. So just give me a couple of weeks to get to kind of dig out of this Wealthian interview, and I will do my best to respond. And please, with questions, I very much want to try and help as much as I can for those of you that have to make decisions in these very uncertain and confusing times. Okay, so here we go. So I talked to you last week about how I'm starting to notice at the end of the month that listings just go down no matter what for sale. And I think that has to do with people take them off because they want to reset that aging clock. And here we came this time around, and they were down minimally last week over week, but they are actually up significantly this week. Over almost 2%, and we've got some interesting cities showing up. So about 2.81%, they were up week over week, and then to the average about 1%. Okay, so top cities with largest percent increase in inventory week over week, and this is for September 3rd through the 10th. Hoboken at 27.27%, San Francisco up at 14.68%, Boston at 24.76%, Rochester at 12.44%, and Westchester County up at 10.33%. So a lot of listings for sale up in the Northeast, and this is new and also interesting. I haven't been able to dig into the seasonality there, but I will tell you that even HousingWire and Mike Simonsen from Altos said that we are seeing out of trend increases in inventory. He thinks it's going to go down. I think it's likely going to go up for sure, as well as I can just tell you some of the markets I watch very closely, I am just seeing price reductions left, right, and center. I mean, I would see one every 4 or 5 for the past several months. This week I woke up to, an email from Zillow. Bam, bam, bam. Every single one of them had a price reduction. So, and then anecdotally, and this is what I would encourage everybody to do, just go talk to your family and friends. What's going on with them? I've had stories within my own family that are supporting this narrative. And I know you may think, well, it's just me. And of course, you can't take it in isolation. You need to look at it in data. But honest to God, guys, a lot of times we think that we're somehow special and this is only happening to us and our family. But when you actually go out there and you talk to people, they are good representation of what's happening. So, ask them what's going on as well. Okay, so top cities' largest percent increase in inventory compared to a 11-week average. Rosemary Beach is up in the first place for 3 weeks in a row at 20.75%. Westchester County up at 10.33%. Nashville up at 8.34%. This is important. Nashville to me is kind of the center of everything. It got started early there, early. Prior to COVID, the cranes descended and everything went gangbusters. So when Nashville starts to turn, in my opinion, which I think is happening based on several weeks of data, this is a big indication for us. And barring any kind of exogenous event or government intervention, this trajectory is becoming very clear that the inventory is going to find its way back to market because of the credit crunch, because people are not able to get financing and they're coming under an increased stress due to property insurance and taxes, which aren't sexy. But when your monthly payment doubles, you've got problems. So and doubles unexpectedly, which happens in some places because of things like supplemental taxes. People aren't prepared, and then the lenders aren't so great at telling them what's going on. Okay, number 4, and again, this is top cities with largest percent increase in inventory compared to 11-week average. Bakersfield up 8% and San Ramon up 8%. Okay, so now we have our top 10 largest percent increase in inventory from the start, and that was January of 23 is when I started tracking this. And again, I tracked the MSA levels year over year, but it was very important for me to really dig under those MSAs because you take places like Atlanta, you're just going to miss a ton of things if you aren't getting sort of more targeted views of those big cities and not just at the MSA level. And so no change in our top 10 this week. And honestly, it stayed pretty stagnant for some time. We've had a tiny bit of movement in the last few weeks, but San Ramon is just up there at 122%. Coeur d'Alene up there at 82%. San Francisco up 73.99%, and they're moving back up in the ranks. They had gone down to number 5, but they're up at number 3 again. Number 4, Denver at 55%, down from number 3. San Jose coming back up the ranks. They were down at number 8, but now at 50% increase. Austin, 49.77 increase in inventory from the start. Galveston, 46.84% increase of inventory from the start. Rosemary Beach, up 45.44%. And then Portland at 42.10%. They're up from number 10. And then Bozeman at 40%. And you may think these are weird little groups of cities. Again, some of these I'm tracking for you specifically. And then, some of them, and a lot of them are these short-term rental meccas where a lot of this has happened. So that's why you may wonder, why are you tracking Galveston? Don't worry, I'm tracking Dallas as well. I'm tracking Austin, but also want to really understand these vacation spots too, because I think they will give us an indication of the consumer, of travel, of all sorts of things. Okay, so the top cities with highest percent increase of single family rental listings to the 13 week, I'm sorry, 9/3 to 9/10. And just so you know, listings for rent were up 4.27% week over week and 4.93% to the average. Now, I've never seen an increase like that. And I think I've been tracking this for 13 weeks, these listings for rent. Now, it could be a data issue. We'll see how it goes, but it also could be a signal of people actually moving things to long-term rent from short-term rental, or basically just maybe a second home trying to get rental income. Not sure. We'll keep our eye on it. Okay, so Cape May was up quite significantly at 100%. Very small numbers there, so don't get too excited. But it was the highest number I've seen there. Of course, that could be because summer's ending. We will know more once we have more data for Cape May specifically. And, if I can get that year-over-year data, that would be great. But starting January, we'll have a full year on many of these things. Okay, San Ramon, again, this percent increase of single family rental listings week over week, up at 16.28%. Rosemary Beach up at 15.38%. Sevierville also weirdly up 15.38%. And you guys know Sevierville is one I watch very closely because it is the Airbnb capital of Appalachia. It is so oversaturated. There are over 8,000 Airbnbs, VRBOs there. It's kind of staggering. And then number 5, Portsmouth up at 12.5%. Okay, so top cities with highest percent increase of single family rental listings, so 13-week average. A lot of the same ones, except kind of one other entry here. So quickly, Cape May up at 108%, Rosemary Beach up at 38.46%, Encinitas, that's the one that isn't in the week over week. They're up at 13.45% against the average and down from number 1 in this category. Galveston up at 28.37%, down from number 2, and Portsmouth up at 12.5%. Again, that was increase of single family rental listings to the average. Okay, so now we get to short-term rental. So in the Substack this week, I don't have the comprehensive August numbers, just got them. So I'll have that for you next week, but I do have the week over week price comparisons, which we understand. Don't really tell us too much because, it could be seasonal factors. But again, if it's a city you know and understand, it might tell you something. Okay, so top cities with the highest percent decrease in average daily rate week over week. This is September 3rd to September 10th. San Francisco down at 26%, Oceanside down at 28.66%, Johnson City at 37.90%. That one's very interesting to me. My home base is a short-term rental in Johnson City. Chicago down 35% and Tampa down 32.72%. Okay, top cities with the highest percent decrease in average daily rate compared to a 13-week average. And if you wonder why 13 weeks, that's how long I have for, that's the concentration. I have many of these cities for, over 9 months, but most of them for the past 13 weeks. Okay, and just so you know, only 5 cities saw increases in average daily rate versus the average. So summer vibes are definitely fading. But okay, so here's increases in ADR versus the average. Bentonville up at 76.83%. I think this might have something to do with football. Augusta up at 9.38%. Nashville at 7.9%. New York at 5.74%. And Brattleboro at 0.84%. Okay, top cities with highest average daily rate, July 2023. Again, I'll have August next week, but I talked about these last week, but I'll just quickly run through them again. And this is the top cities with highest average daily rate July of 2023. Newport Beach, $771. Westchester, $745. Rosemary Beach, $721. Cape May, $593. Encinitas, $576. That's your average daily rate for July of 2023. And if you're curious, it was all the same cities in 2022 with just a small decrease in those average daily rates. Okay, commercial real estate. So there is so much going on in commercial real estate. And it seems, I mean, you just get these pockets of stories, property in New York, property in San Francisco. But what I'm hearing a lot about are tech companies and financial companies. I posted something this week on Twitter about Miami, about how tech and finance are making up the largest portion of the of what's for sublease here. And you're seeing all over the country these tech companies exit some of their commercial real estate. In the Substack this week, you'll see Microsoft. I also heard from one of you, so grateful, about Port St. Lucia and Amazon canceling something there, similar to how they had canceled a warehouse in Round Rock, which I know for sure that a lot of those new builds were banking on that warehouse being built, and it's not being built. And so I think that we're going to see a lot of that. I'll be headed up to Port St. Lucia here in the next few days to hopefully get some on the ground intel of what's going on there. It doesn't sound good. And you're saying, why are you talking about, new builds and commercial? Again, commercial and residential go hand in hand no matter what anyone tells you. And we all didn't move to the suburbs, just FYI, guys. If we did, we moved 20 miles out a lot of the time, etc. And so it is absolutely going to matter what happens to these commercial properties in terms of the residential. And if you don't have anyone going to those offices, then the area around there becomes a very different value proposition. So check out the Substack. I'll link it in the show notes. As I usually say every week, but I'm a little discombobulated, there's a lot going on. I will be traveling over the next 10 days, doing a lot of stopping and looking at new build sites and just, kind of seeing what's going on in the ground. And so things may be a little sporadic for me for the next 10 days, but I'll do my best to keep reporting to you, keep telling you what's going on, and keep trying to decipher the different narratives that you're hearing out there. So thanks everyone for joining this week. I really appreciate it. And please reach out to me with any questions or comments, especially if you are in a situation where you're being forced to make a decision. You can reach me on Twitter at m3_melody, MELODY, on LinkedIn at Melody Wright, WRIGHT, here on YouTube or M3Melody Substack. So guys, I just want to say thank you so much for joining. It is an absolute pleasure. And it's exciting to see all of you kind of come over after the Wealthion interview. And I will do my best to hopefully inform you each week. So thanks again, guys, and have a great weekend. Thank you.